Hello! So this is part 5 of our tutorial and we'll go through enemy movement. So in this topic, we'll be discussing about patrolling, chasing, and causing damage to the player. Okay, now that we're in our editor, let's go to scripts and create a new script for our enemy movement. So for the enemy movement, what we want is it will do patrolling, and then if the player is within a certain range, it will chase the player and cause damage to the player. So here's our script, and let's open our script. Okay, so we actually pre-made a script ahead of time just to save us some time. And then change this into it should be enemy movement, so that it will just be the same as its script name. Okay, so here we have our patrol points. So this is an array of points where the enemy patrols in between, and here we have the movement speed, the chase range, so this is the distance to which the enemy will start chasing the player, and transform player, so this is a reference of the position of the player, and then current patrol index, so this sort of keeps track of the patrol points array. And then we have our boolean is chasing equals to false, so this is used to know if the enemy is chasing the player or not. Okay, so here in our update method, we have our if-else statement. So if is chasing is true, then chase player will be called. Else, it will just call patrol and check for player. So for our patrol, here's our patrol method. So pretty much all it does is it will move from the assigned points. So it will just go in between those. And then here we have our calculation when moving towards the patrol point. And then here we have an if statement if it reached the patrol point in order to move to the next one. And here we have check for player, so it checks the range if the player is within the chase range, and if it is, then is chasing will be set to true. And lastly is our chase player method. Here it is. So what it does is it will calculate the position of the player if it is in range or within the chase range. Then it will start moving towards the player. If the player isn't within the chase range anymore, then it will set is chasing to false. Then if chasing is false, then it will just go back to patrol and check player. So that's pretty much it for enemy movement. So let's set it up in Unity. Okay, so we're back in our editor. So we'll add the enemy script in our small enemies and big enemies. So let's start with the slime. Pretty much just add the enemy movement script. So here we have our patrol points and speed, chase, and the player reference. So we add our player here, and then the chase range 5, speed 2, we'll just stick to that for now. And then for the points, let's add 2. So these are transform objects, or rather an object's transform or position. So we have to create an empty object, which will be our patrol point. Okay, patrol point, let's say within it. So patrol point 1. So let's say we want this slime to go back and forth. And actually I should have just there. Rename Tutu. Okay. Now we have our control points here. So let's click this slime. Go to its movement script. Then add these 2 patrol points. Before I forgot, we actually have to move our patrol point. So here and here. So it should be moving from left to right when we play the scene. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So it's moving from point 1 to point 2 and then goes back to point 1. Okay, now it's working. So what we want now is for it to chase the player. So chase range is 5. So let's see if we go close. There, it's starting to follow the player and chase us around within the range. So if we like speed up and go far, so it just goes back to patrolling to its patrol point. As you can see, it just returns to where it was. So yeah, that's what we want for our player movement. Now we have our movement. Let me set it up for a bit so that both the big enemy and the small enemy have those enemy movements. So yeah. Okay, so with the big enemy or the big bear enemy, so what I did here is assign 3 points. So actually you can add more than 2 points. So if you add 3 or maybe 4, you can create like a scenario that it's patrolling around the map. So if we play this, so as you can see, it's going to our first point, which is around this area, if I remember correctly. It takes some time to do so. So there, it reached this point and now it's reaching or going to the next point, the third point that we set, which is around here if I remember. Yeah, so it reached the third point. Now it's going back to the first point. So again, with this script, you can add more than 2 points, which is very nice, so that it can just move around the map rather than just left and right. So I'll set up the remaining big enemies. Okay, so we have set up all of our enemy movement to our enemies. There, okay. So they're following us, they're chasing us, and they go back to their point if we're out of their chasing range or chase range. So let's go to the bear. So there's the bear chasing us within the chase range of 10. I think I did set it up to 10. Oh. I need to run. I don't know where the bear is. Oh, there it is. So it's gone back to their patrol path or patrol point. Okay, so next up is them causing damage to the player. Okay, so to be making the enemy cause damage to the player, so of course we have to set a health bar for the player. So we have a pre-made script ready So pretty much it's the same logic as the one with enemy health, except we have no drops when we die, but instead I did set a respawn point for now, and the health will return to 100. So it's a pretty short script. So here we have our health, so health equals to 100, then transform respawn point, so the position of our respawn point, and a text mesh variable, so this represents the text of our health bar. So update start, so when start it will just keep on updating our health display or our text. And here we have our take damage method, so it will take damage from amount, which I'll explain later on where the amount came from. So health equals to amount, so this is the amount of damage, so it would just decrement from health, which is 100. And then if health is greater or equal to 0, then the health will be 0, and then it will die. The character or the player will die. Else, if it doesn't reach 0 yet, it will just keep updating our UI. So here, update health display, so this is our UI or just our health text. And then here's the die method, so if we die, then we'll go to our respawn point that we set, and then our health will return to 100. And then our health display, update health display UI will just update, then just and we have a little debug log here. So that's all for our player health. So let's move on to our enemy attack. Okay, so pretty much this is the only script for enemy attack. So what it does, if the player collides with the enemy, or the enemy collides with the player rather, it will cause damage to the player and their health bar will decrement. So here we have our default damage value, so that's 10, but you can change that in the inspector. Later we will change that for the big enemy. And then here's the logic for the damage. So on collision, enter collision collision. So when the enemy collides with an object that has the compare tag of player, it will deal damage. So we have an interface here. Then if damage is not null, then it will take damage, the value of damage. So that's 10 for now, that's 10. And then it will go through an interface called iDamageable. Then take damage float amount. So this is the amount that we saw in our player health. So as you can see, the interface is also mentioned in our player class. So the value of the damage done in this script will be passed on to the player class, and then it will decrement here. As you can see, the method is also mentioned here. Take damage, then the amount of damage will decrement in our health. So that's it. So let's set it up in Unity. Okay, we're back in our editor. So all we have to do now is assign the script. Absol player. So this is our player script, the player health script. So you can just drag it there or just add it through add component, player health. But since it's there, we're not gonna add a new one. So we have 100 health, a spawn point, which is just an empty object that we're just gonna get the position of that empty object, and then health. So this is a text. So how to make a text? So we have one here, but I'll demonstrate how. Just a quick one. So text mesh, and health UI. So it's in the middle, so you can just put it in the side if you want. And then make sure it's empty, since the health will just appear automatically in our script, so it should be appearing in the UI once we assign this. So all we have to do now, okay, we can just assign this, although we're gonna stick with this one. It's already positioned where I want it to be, but pretty much that's how you'll make a text UI. So we can delete that. Okay, now for the damage, enemy damage. So we go to our prefabs, enemies. Okay, let's go to our prefab so that we can easily just assign it to every prefab asset that we have. So enemy attack. So here we the value is 10 by default, but for the bear, let's make it 20, or maybe, yeah, no, 20 is fine. 20 should be fine. Okay, now we have to double check. So our enemies, so big bear. Okay, so there we go. So the enemy attack script is there, so every bear should have it, and also the slimes. So there, 10. Okay, that's good. Okay, now let's test it out if it will cause damage to our player. Okay, so let's start. So ensure the player has a collider and a rigid body. So let's go to a slime. So the slime costs 10 damage, so it should decrement by 10s. Okay, so it decrement by 10. So 80, 70. Okay, it went too fast and it decrement to 50, but at least we know that we're taking damage and the enemy is causing damage. So when we hit 0, okay, it respawned and our health is back to 100, which is good. So that means that our script is working. So yeah, so that's supposed to be it. But for this tutorial, instead of respawning, we will want the player to go to another scene where it will let the player know that the player lost, and asking if the player wants to play again. And that will be on the next tutorial. So for the next one, we'll go through scene management. We'll make a main menu that will let the player play the game or quit the game, and the lose scene. So yeah, see you on the next one.